Thought it was a pretty guy.
Krishni, that's right. Yes, Krishni. So Nina only my miss for her.
Sit and you can adjust.
Yeah, no, and Krishna just straight and you guys figure out. No, but I'll give
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, members of the faculty, and my dear friends. Welcome to the first day of Conventus 2023, the annual management conclave of IMI New Delhi. Change is the only constant in our lives, and how we navigate through this chaotic era is what will define the legacy of our future generations. Conventus, with its roots in Latin, translates to coming together. Through Conventus'23, we invite you to embark upon this journey of understanding this dramatic evolution and learn how to successfully traverse it. My fellow compare, Rashi Rastogi, and I, Prashansa Singh, shall take you through the marketing summit of Conventus'23. This year, Conventus is structured around the theme, Embracing the Winds of Change, Strategies for Thriving in Disruptive Times.
In the fast-paced world of business, the motto, Excelling in Rupt, Embrace Disruption, underscores the urgency for firms to adapt, innovate, and seize new opportunities. The RUPT acronym encapsulates the essential attributes needed for success: rapid adaptation for quick adjustments, unpredictable challenges for agility, profound transformation for embracing change, and technological innovation for dealing with disruption. By staying agile, fostering innovation, and adapting to the needs of their customers, businesses can effectively navigate and thrive in this era of constant change.
When we say that the world is going through a transitional phase, all of us sitting here can resonate with that. Over the past few years, the world has witnessed more changes than in the past few decades. Today is a crucial moment, and through our actions, we should be preparing ourselves to mitigate the risks that will undoubtedly await us tomorrow. To start with, we need to establish a robust foundation built on resilience and adaptability, both in the corporate world and in our personal lives. This foundation will serve as the bedrock for navigating the challenges of our rapidly changing environment. It is essential to keep in mind that businesses that prioritize flexibility are the only ones who are prepared for the unpredictability of our current times. Ultimately, our theme, Revolutionizing Marketing in the Age of Disruption, Strategies for Navigating the Rupt Landscape, explores the challenges and opportunities presented by disruptive forces and highlights strategies that marketers can adopt to succeed.
Before proceeding further, we would like to play the theme video of Conventus'23.
The pages of history remind us of the reality that our world can swiftly change its course. Events like pandemics, economic shifts, and unexpected crises echo through the fabric of time. Like a ripple effect, the consequences of these events rapidly reshape the present, creating the perfect chance to gear up and pave the way for an unforeseen future. Adapting to the RUPT paradigm that signifies rapid, unpredictable, profound, and transformative is essential to tread the waters where constant change is the norm. Like a phoenix rising from the ashes, businesses that skillfully surf such changing tides, using hurdles as stepping stones and transform challenges into opportunities, emerge triumphant. To learn from their success, we must reflect on their experiences and grasp what sets them apart.
To share with us their valuable insights on this topic, we are honored to have amongst us 5 senior corporate executives. We are delighted to have our first panelist, Mr. Aniruddha Chakraborty. Mr. Aniruddha is a seasoned and future-focused communications and brand professional by day and founder-publisher of Chariot Comics as well as a pop culture columnist by night. Prior to his current role as Head of Communications India at Pratt & Whitney, one of the world's largest aerospace engine makers, Mr. Aniruddha was the Head of Marketing and Communications for Comic-Con India. With more than 15 years of professional experience working for top Indian and global brands, Mr. Aniruddha is always learning and exploring the intersection of creativity, data, and humanity in communications. Mr. Aniruddha graduated in commerce from Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University. He went on to study advertising and public relations from Indian Institute of Mass Communication, New Delhi. He also has completed his postgraduate master's in business degree from XLRI, Jamshedpur. Mr. Chakrabarti is not only shaping brands but also leaving an incredible mark on the creative landscape. We would now request Dr. Neena Sondi to felicitate Mr. Chakrabarti with a bouquet. Sir, we are honored to have you on the panel and look forward to gaining valuable insights from you.
We are delighted to have Ms. Krishni Meglani as our next panelist. Ms. Krishni leads marketing for Prime Shopping at Amazon for India and emerging markets. Ma'am has an experience of over 7 years in the industry working with companies like Amazon, KPMG. Her rich experience spans across events, lifecycle marketing, advertising, and branding. Prior to joining Mica, she headed a startup, which was a content blogging website where she wrote engaging content to make otherwise considered boring topics around business and economy interesting for millennials. As a Delhi University alumnus and vice president of Finactus CBS chapter, she has led various social entrepreneurship programs. One of the key projects she worked on was production of eco-friendly notebooks by employing victims of drug abuse. In an effort to collect waste paper for recycling, she, along with her team, holds 2 Limca records for collecting maximum amount of waste paper in India. Outside of work, she's a self-confessed shopaholic and loves board games with the borderline risk of being extremely competitive. She also enjoys playing guitar and volunteer on environment-related projects as and when she can. We would now request Dr. Neena Sondi to felicitate Ms. Meglani with the bouquet. Ma'am, we are honored to have you on the panel today and we look forward to gaining valuable insights from you.
We are delighted to have our next panelist, Mr. Alekhya Chakrabarti. Mr. Alekhya is a father, a doodler, a trivia buff, a sports fanatic, and a lifelong student of marketing. Mr. Alekhya is the Vice President of Marketing and Growth at Unstop, the engagement and hiring platform which connects students and graduates with opportunities. He has over a decade and a half of experience in driving revenue and building brands with companies like Nestle, HUL, Imami, and ITC. He is an alumnus of IMT Ghaziabad, and in his last stint, he was leading the marketing function at Sunstone, a higher education startup. Mr. Alekhya has been recognized as a top voice on LinkedIn for brand management and digital marketing. He runs a marketing podcast under the banner of East India Marketing Company to drive conversations about growth, content, culture, and commerce. We would now request Dr. Neena Sondi to felicitate Mr. Alekhya with a bouquet. Sir, we are honored to have you on the panel and look forward to gaining valuable insights from you.
We are delighted to have Mr. Suryadeep Verma as our next panelist. Mr. Suryadeep is the Chief Marketing Officer at Comviva, where he oversees the company's global marketing strategies to build the brand and accelerate customer adoption of its solution. With over 20 years of experience in B2B technology marketing, strategy, business development and sales, he has defined strategies and led demand generation, brand, channel marketing, and sales enablement program in various roles over the years. Prior to joining Comviva, Mr. Verma has held senior leadership positions at technology companies like HCL, IBM, and BMR Advisor. Mr. Verma holds a master's degree in business administration from FMS Delhi and a bachelor's in mechanical engineering from IIT BHU Varanasi. He is also a certified project management professional from Project Management Institute, USA. We would now request Dr. Neena Sondi to felicitate Mr. Verma with a bouquet. So we are honored to have you here and look forward to gaining valuable insights from you.
We are delighted to have our next panelist, Ms. Radhika Katyal. Ms. Katyal is the Vice President of Marketing and Strategy at Metal with 9+ years of experience in the industry. With her can-do-anything attitude, she has been able to contribute significantly to Metal and has reached the place of VP in a span of 6 years. She has done her MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore, and Engineering in Electronics from National Institute of Technology, Karnataka. We would now request Dr. Neena Sondhi to felicitate Ms. Katyal with a bouquet. Ma'am, we are honored to have you on the panel and look forward to gaining valuable insights from you.
We are honored to introduce Dr. Neena Sondhi as the moderator of the Marketing Summit. Dr. Neena Sondhi currently holds the portfolio of Dean Research and Accreditation at the International Management Institute, New Delhi. An alumnus and a merit holder of Faculty of Arts, Delhi University. Her areas of expertise are consumer psychology, consumer behavior, marketing research, and luxury marketing. With a diverse 3 decades of experience in teaching, research, and consultancy, Dr. Sondhi has been facilitated for her academic and professional work by various national and international bodies. An avid researcher, Professor Sondhi has authored more than 50 publications in peer-reviewed journal of repute, 20 case studies with international case clearing houses, 17 of which are available on Harvard Business Publishing, 75 newspaper and magazine articles, and 3 management books. Her co-authored book titled Research Methodology, Concepts and Cases is rated as one of the top 25 books in management education. In her own words, she described herself as a teacher who never stopped learning and gets her most salient learning every day from her students. An optimist who believes in magic, miracle, and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. She is a Neena who loves to natter. We will now request Dr. Himadri Das to felicitate her with a bouquet. It is our privilege to have you here today, ma'am.
We now launch the 7th edition of Marketing Directions, the Marketing Club's annual magazine. The Marketing Directions is a culmination of articles written by all the Marketing Club members. This initiative has flourished under the guidance of our club mentor, Dr. Neena Sondhi. Through the Marketing Directions, we try to cover the current happenings in the marketing world.
In the light of the main theme of Conventus'23, the Marketing Club wishes to discuss how the new normal has more important implication for marketers who seek to build a long-term relationship with their customer. Thus presenting to you the theme for this summit, Revolutionizing Market in the Age of Disruption. The last couple of years have been challenging for marketers, yet a great opportunity to thrive exists. Marketers can leverage various strategies like data-driven marketing, customer centricity, and agility towards marketing strategies for a profound, sustainable competitive advantage for their brands. To differentiate themselves from their competitors, marketers should leverage their expertise in understanding their customers to the core and make sure to stay on the top of the trends. One whole year after the pandemic, we are still trying to figure out our way back to normalcy of the business world. Marketers that were able to use their imagination to develop strategies today are relevant, and the needs of their customers have helped them show immense growth. This shows that in today's rapidly changing world, it is more important than ever for the brands to be creative and innovative in their marketing strategies. Before moving ahead, we would now like to play the Marketing Summit theme video.
Innovation is a paradox. It's a paradox because it involves creative ideation. At the same time, it's paradoxical and it requires creative destruction.
Marketing is ever evolving to meet new habits and demands of consumers and brands. Consumers nowadays expect more than just a product or a service. Every day, a new trend pops up or a new product is rolled down in the market, and the consumer's attention span has dropped to its lowest of 8 seconds in 2023. The world is moving forward with the ideology of change is the new steady. And in these times, the key to survival in the market is to innovate in every possible way. Consumer behavior in these times is hard to cater to, but still results can be drawn out by reinforcing new beliefs, shaping emerging habits with new offerings, and aligning the entity with the consumer mindset.
The pandemic has shaken the market fundamentals and has made non-digital channels less effective. Digital channels are now the way to go, and as they allow us to adapt to the ever-changing landscape of the consumer's mind. In today's wrapped environment, digitalization is essential for businesses to succeed. Customers must be approached with a new mindset and reimagine strategies via digital platform. The traditional and single channel marketing strategies do not work anymore. The way to grow is through omni-channel marketing. In order for the wrapped environment to be successful, it is also essential that customer-centric and continuous methods are used. Businesses need to focus on understanding and fulfilling the needs of consumers with the intent of doing so sustainably. This entails building long-lasting relations with customers and delivering valuable experiences to them. In the fast-evolving world that we live in, companies can position themselves to succeed by adopting these wrapped strategies.
We would now request Dr. Neena Sondi to take the discussion forward.
Is it working? It's working. So good afternoon, everybody. Just before lunch, so I hope you guys are going to be hungry for some amazing insights that we're going to get from the panel. So thank you very much, Prashansa and Rashi, for that very interesting setting the context. That was really beautiful. The flip side is you stole my thunder, which is not very easy for a professor to say. So the girl spoke about the age of disruption. Is that a new word? The answer is no. Way back in 1995, Clayton Christensen, a Harvard professor, introduced the term disruptive innovation. And today, the marketing pundits have recoined the word, and they call it Big Bang disruption. These disruptors come from nowhere, follow no conventional models. They are not from your industry. They do not follow the rules of targeting the lowest customer with a low-priced offer, They're not upstarts. They are completely annihilators of the space that we exist in. Case in point, we have the free navigating apps, which gave TomTom and Garmin run for the money. So we have some amazing disruptors being represented by our panel today. So how does one foretell, the possibility of unforeseen challenges? How does Airbnb, question the likes of Ritz-Carlton and Marriott, Does the key lie in constant innovation, open innovation, disruptive innovation as we hear it? Is constant pivoting or hustling going to be the rule of the game? Donning new avatars, transforming brands, or reinventing business models? What is going to be the key to survive this age of disruption? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't need to open my crystal ball when I have such a diverse and interesting panel with me who are not just surviving, but thriving on the waves of these turbulent and disruptive waters. So we have slightly more time, I think 10 minutes extra, courtesy, the fact that we've started late. So I hope you guys are fine with, staggering the lunch for another 10 minutes. Is that okay? So I'm going to go, to panelists in no particular order. So Krishni, I come to you. You represent the original disruptor, Amazon, right? I mean, they reinvented the word disruption as we know it. So Krishni, Diwali is just round the corner, and I'm looking at some exciting shopping times ahead. It's like the Chandani Chowk kind of shopping. So I have Amazon Prime, I have Flipkart Plus, and I also have Myntra Insider. So what am I going to do? I'm going to browse, I'm going to explore, try my hands, and jahan mera dil chahega, I'm going to buy there. Is it okay? So in this scenario, when Amazon's current tagline says we work hard and we make mistakes but have fun, and we're going to make history and we're going to challenge the paradigms. How does Amazon stay ahead of the curve so that I don't go insider, I don't go plus, I stay Amazon Prime?
Okay, very, very relevant question because, like I said before, we just came here. It's all about Diwali planning right now. Next couple of weeks, you'll see, and iPhone deals I will share cheat sheets for. But I think for anybody to stay ahead, I think be it a person, be it a company, it goes back to your character and your first principle thinking. And coincidentally, like the first big corporate I worked for, being Amazon, that ethos happened to be customer obsession. So anything that gets thought of at Amazon gets debated across boardrooms, across like FC's fulfillment centers that are, it starts with the customer and it ends there. I don't know if you all know, but we always leave a chair open in rooms when we have our meetings for customers. So how Prime thinks of making Diwali, which is the most fulfilling shopping season for customers, is understanding what are the needs. And this reminds me of certain examples. So back in 2016, when I joined this company, Amazon was just about starting retail operations. It did in 2015. We didn't have a lot of businesses launched. We had mobile phones and a bunch of categories here or there. And the one thing that came was that we start with the customers, right? So US would do a Black Friday, we would have a Prime Day, and we were like, boss, this is India. Anything you have to do needs to start and end with Diwali. That's where the big bucks come, that's where shopping really happens. So what we thought, and now continues to be like a legacy tradition there, is something known as a Dhanteras shopping deal specific thing that happens only in Amazon. And now that I look at emerging markets also, we think of, okay, if we are doing a Diwali here, what are our other markets where Diwali does stand out as a festival and where could we extend those deals to? So a bunch of emerging markets where there is a Hindu population representation, Amazon does extend these things too. So even when Diwali happens in India, the customers targetedly in US would see Diwali specific deals. So I guess that's how the company prepares itself. But I think overall as a factor, I think what matters to Amazon is customer obsession, understanding what matters in terms of insights, and not just looking at a single lens of view. Ki, okay, this is how we've done things traditionally and this is how we will continue to. I think the good thing about a company like Amazon is that there are no traditions and you continue to evolve yourself. And I think that's, I guess, the word of the century, right? Like being disruptive all the time. So yeah, customer obsession and adapting to changing times would be how we prep for it.
So customer centricity reimagined, right? Rules without any rules is what Amazon is all about, right? Now, customer centricity, I understand, right? I mean, okay, we are your customers and you make sense and of the insights that you receive and you deliver what we want. What gets confusing, Alakya, is when there are multiple customers and multiple stakeholders, right? And we have the disruptor of the decade, Unstop. And so, you know, just like I have a bucket list of 100 places to go to, there is also a bucket list of companies that inspire me and I like to write about them. One of them is HubSpot and one of them is Unstop. So very exciting times. The thing is, you know, Krishni spoke about customer centricity and a set of customers, maybe in India, who are different from the US. How do you deal with different stakeholders? You know, I mean, You have the companies at one hand, the recruiters, then you have the organizations, and then you have the trainers, right? And look at the numbers in 7 years. I mean, what do I have? 6 million users, 40,000 colleges, 78 countries, and I don't know, still growing, right? How did this happen in 7 years? How did Unstop make this phenomenal, considering the insight with different groups and create a model that worked for everybody? It's crazy, but amazing.
Yeah. Ma'am, first, with your permission, can I ask the 6 of them to sit? Because, I mean, it's an OCD for me. I'm just seeing them stand and for the next. There are many empty chairs and 6. Customer centricity, right? So, yeah, just focusing. Yeah.
Important stakeholder.
Yeah, for Unstop, they are the stakeholders, right? So, the most important stakeholder. I don't know, like. Yeah, I think that number is 6.4 million, not 6.
Okay.
As of this morning.
Stand corrected.
Yes. But I think it's because of them, nothing else. I mean, this brand, many of you would probably know, I think she was telling me, Krishni, it was known as Dare to Compete earlier, right? So it was started by Ankit from a hostel dormitory in IMT. And the simple gap that he saw, that there were no aggregator of competitions that were out there, right? So he just started as a blog. And this is where we are today. Quick raise of hands, how many of you are signed up on Unstop? Thank you. So 100% penetration. I mean, I'm always tempted to do a market research, right, when I come to a place like this. But I think it's also because your PlaceCom has now asked you to, right? So, yeah. So we know. So, but that's the premier college like IMI, right? So, but if the beauty of it, and this is where I'll answer your question, is we are now seeing absolute organic growth from tier 2, tier 3 towns. Like, I mean, there are other MBA students as well from, let's say, Ramshackle, institutes in. And on the remote village in AP maybe, right? So you'll be surprised to know which city gives us maximum number of, users. It's actually Hyderabad and the outskirts of Hyderabad. Right? It's not Delhi, it's not Bombay, it's not Bangalore, right? So, and not Pune as well, where the colleges are there. And so how do we now cater to these students, the user cohort, and also to the B2B customers, let's say, right? So I think it's very simply, again, like she was mentioning the example of almost having a representative chair in every Amazon meeting. We try to think what would add value, right? So, and we will be able to do that only when we explore their lives out and know very well what are they thinking, what are they feeling, what they're believing, right? So on day 1 in my job, back in March, I think this year, I was telling this to you that I met 20 students, much like you, with a mix of, let's say, gender, different metros, etc. And all of them had some amazing amount of love for the brand. They were like, there's so much value I get every day. The competitions that you post, the blogs that you write, the mentors that I get. Like cut to last week, I remember there were a couple of folks from XLRI who blocked a mentorship session, and I'm a practicing mentor of the platform as well, with me to crack ITC's interview bang, which is I think on now, right? Because the homework that they did was they figured out a mentor who has marketing experience, who has brand experience, who was an ex-employee of ITC, all of that in 2 minutes on the mentorship platform for Unstop. These use cases didn't exist. We created this out of those the platform and the need that we figured out, but we didn't know that somebody will use it for cracking ITC interbank. That's the beauty of a community-led brand, because you ensure that you evolve the product into ways that we also don't imagine as manufacturers. When Amazon started 25 years back, they wouldn't know, like they will have a Diwali shopping festival, in 2016 in India, right? So, and it happens, when the growth happens hand in hand with the users. I think the same playbook we repeat for, let's say, the stakeholders on the B2B side as well. They come to us. I mean, even like her company is a client for us, right? We do Amazon S with them. Like when we talk to them, at times they are very clear. Even a company like Amazon is at times not clear what to do with regards to an employee engagement activity, right? When they want to host a competition engagement. And yeah, similarly, we also co-create solutions for them, but it happens only when it's co-creation and it comes from a space where we get to know what are they actually looking for. So it's always about those simple playbook of adding some value and co-creating it. And I think, that's the way it's happening now.
Wow. Great insights. And I think you very clearly pointed out that the pain point came because, you were in the shoes as the founder, as a student, you remembered your pain points, and that's how it worked. And the other side of the story is that you do not stand on a pedestal and you co-create with your business partners. And that's the reason why you create magic. So amazing. We'll come back to you for that. Suryadeep, if I can come to you, right? When I view Comviva, I am confused. Okay, because, I went to your website and this is what it reads. Let me read it out. It says, focused on disruption. We believe in leveraging the disruptive power of technology to address today's challenges and not just future ones. So current and future is what you speak about. However, marketing perceptions, including our dear students here and a lot of marketing pundits, is that when it comes to customer relationships, the B2B world is more stable, relationships are more constant, and there is less disruption. Because these guys are slower to adopt, they follow your typical beautiful bell-shaped curve that we remember, and so things are pretty good, with this set of customers. And then you speak about disruption. So where is the myth and where is the reality? Is the B2C space also experiencing disruption? And how is Comviva handling it?
So,
okay.
Yeah, so good questions actually, ma'am. So first question is B2B lagging in this whole disruption game versus the B2C? I would actually lean on the D2C or the B2C side and agree that, yeah, there is a much more vibrant play of disruption happening on that side. Right. Now, if you look at the B2B space, a lot of these tech that you see are pretty much the tech that is enabling the disruption on the B2C side. In our domain, we talk about 5G, right? We talk about AI, we talk about security. Now, all these tech plays are what is really helping the whole game really kind of happen on the other side of the scheme. The relationships on the B2B side are relatively more exclusive. They are, when you talk about a B2B relationship versus, you are talking about one-to-many versus one-to-select partners, the rules of marketing are very different, right? Either you can talk about your whole proposition and how you are better than your competition, or you can talk about relationship, or you can talk about customer centricity. Right, so the way you market is obviously very different from the way you would play it on the B2B versus B2C side. Having said that, I think the stakes are much higher. Every opportunity or every deal that you get into, losing that opportunity on the base of your reputation or your proposition, your stakes are much higher because it runs into millions and that value. If irate customer goes to your website and writes about it, you take it far more seriously because you're talking about some really large entities there. So obviously, I mean, I can just go on. You are really dealing with some limited number of entities, but those relationships are much more valuable. Those have higher stakes versus what you do on the other side. Sure. I hope I'm audible. So I think that's the whole difference. There is a whole different set of disruption play which is happening on the other side. We don't read about it that much because you experience some of those apps and some of those other things there. But if you go back and look at what's happening in the tech space, companies like, 15 years back, we grew up watching IBMs of the world, right. HPs of the world. Probably 15 years back, Amazon was a new player on the block. And I remember, I was actually looking at a competition sheet, a slide during my IBM days, and I saw Amazon. And I was like wondering, why is Amazon featuring here? They are a bookseller, they are an e-commerce company. And here you go, 15 years down the line, they pretty much hit you from a very different side, which was cloud. And they are much more valuable, they are much more. So, a lot of these things are happening at a different pace. The dynamics are very different, but there is a own different set of disruption play happening on the B2B side, right? And yeah, I mean, there are different challenges and different ways to kind of tackle them.
Okay, great. If I may just ask you to, just fill in the details about, okay, the stakes are higher, disruptions are, more tricky, and you're actually operating on thinner ice as compared to a B2C firm. How does Comviva handle, what they claim?
All right.
Yeah.
So let me kind of, I don't know how many of you guys have really heard about the company. We are actually a 25-year-old software product company.
Correct.
In the IT services space, you would have come across a lot of companies which are 20-year-old, Infosys, Wipros of the world. But there are not many tech product companies in India which can boast of having a 25-year long history. We started off almost 25 years back, part of the Bharti Group. And rather than doing services that most companies do, we actually built solutions that drove this whole telecom revolution, right? So you have those networks that you would see that companies put up, that companies have. There's a whole bunch of back-end tech software that runs those networks.
Right.
And that's what we kind of build. Companies like Airtel, Orange, MTN, Etisalat, AT&T, almost globally, if you look at the top 10 companies, out of top 10, 7 companies globally, the biggest ones would use Conviva solution.
Right.
Out of every, what about 6 billion people on the planet, our solutions would touch more than 2 billion people. So we actually operate at a scale. We have 3 kind of key solution segments: fintech, martech, digitech. We won't get into that. But how do we do it? In our history, the very kind of basic reason why we have stayed relevant is the fact that we have co-created with our customers.
Right.
We have built and conceptualized solutions that have built the next phase of growth for our customers. And I think that's where we have added value. That's where most of our customers have seen Conviva and they have looked at us and see this is the company to partner for in the long run.
Right.
And I think that has been one of the ethos of being relevant over and above, the other levers that you look around, which is product diversification, pricing, and service delivery, and so on. I think we heard about Amazon being extremely customer focused. I think we have started imbibing some of that in our ethos as well. But we also look at where the next wave of disruption for our clients is coming through,
Right.
and preempt that and build that for our clients. And I think that has been one of the sources.
Amazing. That is amazing because, you speak about disruption where you are the silent creator, actually who's leading disruption without saying much. And the humility of a large player, a big giant who says that, hey guys, we learned from the upstarts, like the Amazons, okay, how to imbibe, innovative culture into our ethos is something that, only the big ones can acknowledge. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Suryadeep, for that. So, Aniruddha, Pratt and Whitney, right? The big daddy of aerospace and engines.
Right.
A space on which you sit pretty absolutely on the summit, and the disruptors are just creating ripples, okay?
Right.
So how do the Boeings and the aerospace, which are actually one side of your professional journey, look at disruption, handle disruption? And when you're playing, should I say, Dr. Hyde by night, okay? And you have, in contrast, firms like Comic-Con and the Buzz Tribe, who were also related to your other passion, right? How does disruption happen there, and is it more bothersome? Do you have different rules in that sector versus the big daddies?
Right. I mean, the straight answer is obviously it's a mix of what everyone has said on this panel, right? But one key takeaway, and I hope I'm loud enough at the back, right? Yeah, okay. One key takeaway, and I'll focus on aerospace first, right? Disruption there looks very, very different. Let me give you an example. You guys have heard of Aero India, right? That big air show which happens in Bangalore. I'm sure you have.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, you've seen it. And if you remember, this year they got in the F-35s, right? The Lockheed Martin F-35s.
Right.
Those are powered by Pratt & Whitney, just FYI. Plug in there. That said, they are not actually selling those F-35s to India, right? Under no circumstance will they do so because there's things involved there. What they are selling is the F-16. Why is this a disruption? because that's the first time you're bringing one of the most advanced fighters here. You have everyone's attention. Nothing else matters now on that show floor because the F-35 is here. Like, I was screaming and running, going, yeah, like my favorite plane is here, right? Because I've been following it since I was a child, like the development. That is disruption. So it's physical, tangible. Now, that's how it looks different. Now, how does it look same? Taking Lockheed, my favorite example again. When I was with Boeing, and this I'm talking Aero India, I think this was 2019, what happened was Lockheed tried a smart one. They were, like I said, selling the F-16, and they said, oh, you know what, now for India we're selling, and again, because communications, marketing just goes very fluid in B2B sometimes, like you're working with the sales team directly. There's no marcom guy in the middle because you hold the budgets and you hold the media as well. At that point in time, obviously I was handling social media for Boeing as was one of my things. Lockheed does a clever thing. I mean, obviously the Super Hornet, the one you guys have seen in Top Gun, that one was competing against the F-16. They go clever because obviously Pakistan has F-16, right? They're like, let's rename it to the F-21, and big time, or Lockheed offers the F-21 for Indian Air Force, right? And day one, they've owned it. They've cornered the market, and obviously everyone is panicking. And like, what do we do now? Because like, this is new. So, and everyone's like, oh, can we use media? Can we talk to the influencers? Can we run an ad? And I was just like, give me 5 minutes. And just, I was looking at my sales and I'm like, give me 5 minutes and promise me you'll save my job if this goes the other way, right? Because obviously it's aerospace, you have to be this thing about it. And I just went outside, took the same photo, took a photograph of my Super Hornet, which is right next to the F-16. And I remember just putting a small little caption there, you know, the standard jargon, fast, this, that, whatever, and still called the Super Hornet. And I just tweeted that, and I think we had like almost 300 retweets right within like 5 minutes. 5 papers saying the fight's on the ground, and I don't think they pitched it as F-21 ever. They stopped talking at the show after that. So again, so that's where it's similar, right? You've disrupted using social media, which is traditionally not a B2B thing, right? Or an aerospace thing. Yeah. And you use that. So that's why it looks different, looks similar. I mean, COVID was a big thing for us, right? I mean, how, like, again, just going back very quickly to what I said, it's very tangible, right? The standard conventional methods, like, because you're selling something which is worth at least $100 million, whether it's commercial or a fighter. When interaction is taken away, how do you sell, right? So for us as an industry, I think both aerospace and even telecom for that matter, and I know I can speak to that because I've worked there as well, just shifting gears to digital, how do I connect with my OEM customer or my airline customer, or, you know, how do I pitch the product now where they can't see it because everything is locked down? That was like a big transition phase, and there you see some amount of disruptions, and maybe I'll talk about this later, but sustainability for my industry was another one. That big focus on, okay, let's change the narrative and look at that. So I don't know if that answers or...
I think it does. What about Comic-Con?
Oh, right. Yeah.
And the Buzz Tribe.
So, okay, I'll double back to Buzz Tribe, which was long back 2014. And the reason it's one of the favorite gigs I've ever done is because I think for 5 years, 3 years, my parents didn't understand what I was doing. And I would keep getting कि इसकी तो शादी नहीं होने वाली, पता नहीं नौकरी क्या करता है ये, right? Because digital marketing, I wouldn't say digital, but at least social media marketing at that point of time, content was new, right? I mean, so I was like, I do advertising, and they would be like, तो दिखा कहाँ है? And मतलब, where is it? So I'm like, it's on Facebook. They're like, but how are there ads on Facebook? Again, what we did at that point of time, and we were handling a lot of food brands, so I would get really hungry while working. So I'll just let you know, like, because you're looking at a Subway thing and you're just like, I need food now. But given those brands and given how tangible and connecting it was, one of the most fun things I've worked on, and one of the things we drove at that point of time was video content, right? And not just creating video content one way, user-generated content. So I remember we worked on this campaign with Sprite Teen Till I Die. We were working on that, where it was, again, at the core of it, it's just a talent show, you're bringing people in. Season 1, we got that, put websites in, and it was new. Then with Fanta, I remember we did a cooking bake-off. Like, it was a hybrid, digital versus things. So things like that you got to do, and they were ahead of their time then, and been in pitches where the other guy is saying, oh, we should do a campaign like that. I'm like, oh, mera wala hi hai. So, so that was fun. Comic-Con, again, Comic-Con comes back to what Alakya was saying, community-driven. I mean, the way the audience has made that show evolve, right? I was there for the very first one as a publisher, not as the marketing person there. It was just a nerd gathering in Delhi Heart. We were like, momos khayenge, comics padhenge. That is all it was, right? And if you can, wear a costume, good for you. Since then, it's evolved into, I mean, comics, I would say honestly, is probably realistically not more than 20% of that entire show. It's celebrities, pop culture, brands, there is stand-up. Stand-up is like the biggest draw there. I'm like, people turn up on Sunday evening, I'm like, you can watch these guys separately, right? You know, buy my comics first, you know, ye to dikh jayenge pub mein. But yeah, again, that Comic-Con evolved with the community. The kind of marketing we were doing, the way we were reaching out to people changed from using volunteers to using digital to actually creating smaller experiences for a larger experience. So that's the kind of stuff we were doing with Comic-Con. Very different, but in some cases, like you can see, it's always a little bit similar as well. So.
Yes, I can see the similarity. In fact, in the narratives, right, all the three narratives, there is a lot of commonality. And that commonality is called Aniruddha. Okay, who's able to uncannily identify where do I create the disruption. And sometimes, you know, he's honest enough to say, hey, let the disruptor be not me, but the community. So, you know, two important lessons, the significance of the community and the significance of understanding, okay, what's going to create that not ripple but tsunami is, I think, the mark of a, if I may say, a true disruptor. Okay, and we'll put you there. So we come to you, Radhika, next. Yes. Another disruptor. People may, and all these guys would know you very well. Okay, the disruptor that you represent, which is metal. Yeah. Right. So over here, when we talk about metal, we speak about an intensively information-driven, organization which is creating assessment tools, right? Yeah. And serving to connect two sides of the stakeholders, right? So when you're doing things like that, okay, and you have a plethora of information with you, how does metal say, okay, this is relevant, as he said, you know, I mean, Aniruddha said, I need to sift, right? On this platform, you need to sift the data to say that, hey, this is going to be relevant. This is how I modify my existing product, or this is the way I create a new product, right? So that I stand ahead of the curve. So how do you do these data analytics so that your product stays relevant for both sides of the story? Yeah. And my second question is what we've been discussing, you know, when we were sitting in the room. How do you handle the disruption of AIs like ChatGPT? Sure. When these guys, all these smart young people are going to take support and kind of try to outwit even the metals. Sure. Do you have some mechanisms to handle them? So sure. 2 questions.
Sure. So I'll take the first one first. And I hope all of you can hear me, right? Okay, perfect. So good to know that IMI is on metal, and you guys have all been through the process of being on one side of metal, right? So I think, and the advantage I'm going last is I'll maybe try summarizing what everyone has said so far, and that's your question 1 to me also. One side of the equation, metal has students who are taking the exam or candidates who are going to be hired on our platform for some ITC exam or some other exam where we are quite similar to what Unstopped does, right? But we don't have the community approach there, right? So one side is the student customer for us, who's not the real customer. You're not buying us, right? But you are the ones who are sort of the end customer of our customer, where it goes into a B2B angle, right? So we have the second customer, who's the real customer, who's the B2Bs, the corporates, or the educational institutes who are buying us, right? So I think 101 of marketing, which all of you have been taught, but it is very difficult to implement it in real life, is knowing the persona, right? If it's easy to say leave a table or a chair on the customer, but it's difficult to know who that customer is, right? So if a product manager or a marketing manager in Metal is sort of thinking through it, that person needs to think that customer is the student who is going to give exam, has to start the exam at 10 o'clock, right? We as Metal understand that 10:00 means 10:00. It can't be a 10:01. Because if it's 10:01, then the student on the other side is going through a lot of trauma. What will happen to me, whether my exam will go through or not, whether I'll pass or fail, whether I'll clear this test or not. So it's very important to know the person sitting on that chair and knowing what they are going through in that very moment, right? So that's the B2C side of how we think. In Metal, we always think that we have to always start at what time we have to, and we can't miss that bus. Obviously, when you are in corporates, you make mistakes, right? You know that there are 5 exams where we missed. But it's always, second lesson which I take is, you have to learn to adapt, right? If you have missed an exam, and that's where your data analytics question comes. Today in the digital world, all of us have everything in data format, right? Amazon would know more than any of us know about ourselves also, of what we have sort of searched, what we are looking for. We might not tell our parents, our spouses, or our children, but Amazon knows it. So the beauty lies in trying to analyze that data, get a trend, and strengthen the persona which you have in head, right? So that's where I would say the data analytics piece sort of plugs in. And I think B2B, I am a B2B marketer. Like Metal wants to think of themselves as B2B players, not as B2C players. And in B2B, I think the complexities, like he tried mentioning, are just much more, right? The disruptions are coming sooner than what the B2C players are maybe experiencing, because the companies we cater to have to hire talent from Metal or use in Metal to be able to disrupt for B2Cs, right? So I think COVID hit all of us at the same point, but B2B marketers had to, or B2B companies had to adapt much faster than B2C, correct? So that's the play. I hope I've answered your question one somewhere. And also I tried summarizing what everyone, and that's the advantage of going last, right? Now, coming to your second question, which was more on how Metal is looking at AI and how chat GPTs of the world is. So I'll give you what Metal is thinking and what Radhika is thinking. And it can always be two different things, right? So as a person, I feel that it's good in conferences, it's buzz, it's a lot of trying to stay ahead of the curve. But in real, if you ask me, I had a team of 40 people across marketing and strategy. I don't think anything has changed, okay? It might be changing, it might be in their thoughts, oh, I made a content using ChatGPT, but the output which was earlier expected from a content writer continues to be the same, right? He has to come up with a content. Maybe now his productivity is faster, but as a manager, I know his productivity is faster. So I'm throwing in more work, right? So I'm just frankly telling you that, and we can debate on this. I don't think the expectations from human beings or expectation from employees have changed with AI. It's good buzzwords. Many such disruptions have come in the past, right? Earlier the term used to be Industrial Revolution 4.0, right? We were all worried jobs will go. Then came digital transformation pre-COVID, right? At COVID, everyone forgot and said, oh, speed and the shelf life of skills have reduced. All those things came. But that's my personal opinion, that it will change, but the pace at which it gets adapted is much slower than what we think and we want to perceive, right? second, what Metal is thinking and how Metal sort of thinks about AI and ChatGPT, I think we have already launched many products, and maybe I'll give you a structure. I'm a consultant. I have worked with BCG, so I like simplifying things and putting it in structure. The structure we have is that AI-led initiatives can be split into 3 categories. One is where we as Metal are using it in our world, okay, in our employees, how productivity can be increased, can we launch something within Metal, right? That's organization productivity enhancement, or can we do things faster? The second is how we can take AI to our customers, right? Now in that we know one set of customers is the student and the one set of customers is the B2B segment, the organization or educational institutes. So we have tools like where we are monitoring students, AI proctoring. We have recently launched something called AI Sense, which from your answers gives a sense of how much of that is adopted by AI, and that is also using AI behind to sort of say how much has a student cheated. Okay. Then we have something called credibility score, which is like an amalgamation of all this, which is can a teacher actually believe and trust in what the student has given. It's like trying to do what Turnitin does, but sort of even Microsoft is doing things similar. So when you guys submit an essay, they will very quickly highlight and say these things have been repeated or these are similar to what a teacher expected. So that's what we are thinking for our customers. And the third leg of this, how Metal thinks of AI is that what is going to happen in the industry, right? We are in the assessment space. Today we are selling questions or content, right, to our corporate customers. That will in future there be no need? Will sort of the industry evolve, right? And that's where I think it's still far-fetched, but we think in that direction. So hope I've been able to.
Thank you. That was quite profound. So we're at the end of round 1, and what have we learned? The age of disruption is a reality. It's not a myth. The way to handle it is customer obsession, as Krishni said, customer centricity and co-creation, as Alakya mentioned. The stakes are big, as Suryadeep said. Sometimes to disrupt, you need to be the disruptor, like Aniruddha. And sometimes, and very interestingly, what Radhika said is that, hey, we may not, you may think that disruption doesn't affect us, but we are the guys who are going to equip the employees and the employer who are going to be the disruptors of tomorrow. So that's our relevance in the age of disruption. So very interesting round 1. Let's go to round 2. So Suryadeep, I come to you first and ask you to wear a different hat. With your extensive experience with tech firms like HCL, IBM, and even Wipro, I think that was your initial years, each of these giants have survived the disruptors. What are the key mantras for stalwarts like them that you would like to say that, okay, this is the way to handle them? You did answer it, in the initial, but if you could, crisply put it that, okay, this is the mantra. And my second is, if I were to look at the young disruptor space, right, who according to you is an amazing upstart of a disruptor in your space to look out for, and is going to kind of change the way technological solutions work? So something that interests you and lessons for the big ones.
So let me...
It's working.
Yeah, let me kind of answer you
No, it's
the
not
second
working.
one first. In my space, which are the ones which are disruptor? Now, we are into MarTech. We are largely a tech, but we are into MarTech, FinTech. In FinTech, you probably would know a lot. India pretty much is the poster boy. And what Paytm did was phenomenal, right? You see vegetable sellers kind of. Airtel tried that 10 years back, but they couldn't go anywhere. What Paytm did was brought that down to pretty much shopkeepers, and that's disruption for me, right? And that culture actually runs deep. Today there would be other guys who are running along with the same company, but they will find their way through. So, in the FinTech, you see them. In the MarTech, HubSpot, I feel,
Right.
is a very,
Absolutely.
I mean, what I especially like about HubSpot is not the platform. You know, there are platforms which might be better than HubSpot, but the way they have created a enablement community around them.
Right.
As a marketer, I go to HubSpot if I want to understand something more than any other platform.
Right.
And that's the kind of trust they have tried to build with marketers like
Correct.
us, right? And I find them very impressive, the kind of, that's not their day job. Their day job is not to create content.
Correct.
But that's how they're building relationship. And I think they are another kind of big names. In terms of general tech, of course, anything that, you know, I mean, there are so many stuff happening on the EV side. There are so many
Right.
social media sites. So I think there is a lot of action in general happening in there. What is the kind of mantra looking at guys like HCL, Comviva? Everybody has their own voice, right? You don't need to copy formats
Correct.
based on what HCL is doing, what we are doing, or what anybody else is doing. There are kind of ways to create your own voice, ways to create your own story, and there is no single thread that runs along in the industry. There are people who kind of disrupt based on value that they offer, which is access of what you offer versus the investment that is needed, or the relationship. I mean, I can call you at 2 o'clock and the guy is up there. I mean, those are even deeper bonds to kind of break.
Right.
I understand the platform is average, but you know, I trust this guy, right? Then there are companies who are extremely valued and respected on corporate ethos. If you look at the industry, Infosys used to get a interesting premium, and among all things equal, people used to work with Infosys because it created this whole image of people who are upright, people who are doing the right things, corporate governance and ESG and things like that. So there are different tracks, different ways to approach it. You don't need to ape somebody because you're gonna be kind of falling in that trap of creating an image of a competitor. So you need to find your own voice, and you need to dig down into your own DNA in terms of what as a company you stand for. And I'll give you an example. 2-3 years back, we started re-looking at our messaging and our pitch. And one of the starting point was to go and talk to sales guys, customers, leaders, trying to understand when somebody buys us, why do they buy us? Why do they reject us, right? What do employees feel is working right for the companies? What is not working right? And that's where you start triangulating your company's DNA. And your story should be aligned with your company DNA. You know, you can't be talking about something that you don't really follow. That story will not, that will never stand. And I think that's the toughest job. Go back, first of all, you know, we can be something, and we have to talk about that in the manner which is giving you traction in the industry.
Right.
And I think that's pretty much is what marketing, the core of marketing is about. Agility and some of that will always be there, and that speed is gonna fasten every couple of years. But I think building your own narrative, building your core story, and a story that your employees believe in, your customers believe in, is fundamental from a marketing standpoint. And I think it is one of the toughest jobs. And if you pull that well, I think that's something that is a great job done as a marketing guy.
Thank you. I think that was amazing. So finding your purpose in life, whether as a human being or an organization, is the key. And that's how you build the philosophy into your narrative, is what you spoke about. And two amazing upstarts that, kind of intrigue you, Paytm and HubSpot. Yes, I think they intrigue all of us. So Krishni, I come to you next. Right. On the individual front, I find that you're as much of a powerhouse as the employer who employs you. you speak of Taylor Swift and her master strokes as she comes up with new albums. And I see the Prime Town Hall at Amazon Home. Both speak about building constant consumer connect and building a community, right? Now, how important is this, to create a culture or a cocoon which is comforting in an age of disruption, where, you need everybody to be alert, to be out of their comfort zone, and you talk about, hey, we're there for you, and you speak about communities. So aren't these two paradoxically contrary things? How does it work, in your individual opinion?
Okay, wow. Superb research, ma'am. You said Taylor Swift, community, LinkedIn, couple of my favorite things in like a sentence, so you have me at that. Okay. But hey, this is a profound question, like that even I think about very often. And there's a saying in Amazon also that goes, till the culture is day one, every day is day one.
Yes.
And till it's day one, things are good. What that means is there's room for mistakes. You're allowed to evolve as a person, and you can completely flip what you're doing. I started my career doing merchandising, and on my 6th day of internship, I went and told the director of consumables back then, Meghna, this is not going to work for me. I don't think I'm going to do this. I like this, and I'm going to go and do this. And I was given that flexibility. So and this brings back to building cocoons, communities. I'm a big believer in psychological safety. And what that doesn't mean is कि, you go to an office and वहाँ लाइनें लगी हुई हैं और आपको corporate setup में बैठना है and everybody, and there are mental health sessions. What that means is when I'm traveling to Delhi and I've told my boss it's a no phone day, it's a no phone day. Nobody is calling me. People respect that about my time. And I'm going to use one word, and you are that confident that you know your shit, right? That you have the ability to control your time, to control your work, and be able to operate in a space where you're like, I got this, but not right now. So I am a very big believer in that, and whoever has seen me post on LinkedIn, more often than marketing, I speak about people, about how we value time, about how kids at early ages should learn personal finance, then etiquette classes. But yeah, that's who I am. And while paradoxical, I relate to somewhat what Suryadeep was saying, right? It's very important not just to identify your purpose, but to know who you are as a core person. I think there are very diverse set of people sitting on this panel who are doing very different things in marketing. And somewhere down the line, I have been like dur se consumer of each of them. Like I'm a big Comic-Con head. I go dressed up as Bahubali characters every year to the Bangalore Comic-Con. So I'm that big a nerd. I've used metal products. I'm a hardcore fan of Unstop. Right from the days it was Dare to Compete. And I have followed Comviva's journey because when recruitment drive used to happen, one of the first companies that used to come was Comviva. But I think in each company is very different in its DNA. And all these people sitting here are very different. And I'll go a little towards philosophical side, but I'll say you do you. Use these 2 years in college and your future years, like majority of your 20s, to really know what sits well with you, and then enjoy that phase in your 30s. I'm yet to touch 30 myself, but I'm giving this gyan like I have it figured out. But yeah, I would say, I think that's one of the reasons why I've stuck around with a company like Amazon for 7.5 years now, right? It was in those 6 days at my internship where I said, boss, this won't work. I'll do this, and I'll tell you I have my stuff sorted. That led me believe that as a person, I'm comfortable in a space where I'm left to operate things on my own rather than be in a corporate structure. Like when you think of Amazon today, you would think like big swanky buildings, offices, etc. It's none of that. I go in a t-shirt, jeans every day to office. In fact, this is the first time I think I've worn formals after like 7 years of graduation from MBA. So find a company, startup, or your own gig to do, but that fits your character traits well. And if it works, like, it'll reflect in your personal life also, how happy you are at home, what things you do, and whether you have that drive. And I think then everything is gonna fit into its pieces. Like for me, I've changed 6 jobs, 10 managers at Amazon in the last 7 years. And everybody keeps telling me, "Tu retirement bhi is company se karke jayegi." I might just, right? But as long as I'm getting to do something new, fun and interesting, fail fast, scale even faster, and then, work hard, have fun, and eventually someday make history, who's stopping me? So yeah.
Can you hear me now? Yeah. So interesting that you borrowed the tagline of your own employer. But I guess what you spoke about, a little philosophical, but makes sense, that you need to be comfortable with yourself. The disruption does not seem to be coming from within. If it does, then you're not going to be a disruptor. So as long as, the disruption is kind of calmed within you and you are well placed on mental well-being, and you love what you do, and find your passion. And that's how you will constantly be engaged in an organization which is known for disruption, if I can put it that way. Absolutely. Wow, amazing. So Alakya, I come to you next. You're as much of a consumer and branding delight as Krishni is in terms of her philosophy. So I followed a lot of what you did, and your curious connection with sports, whether it's tennis, or it's cricket, or it's FIFA and football, or your latest Mr. Anil Kapoor and Jhakas, right? When we look at all this, right, it intrigues me how much brands intrigue you. And I also look at, your handling of amazing brands which were doing things differently, whether it was Dove, whether it was Vivel, whether it was A+ at Nestle. So, what are some of the brands or the branding journeys in your professional or your personal take on these brands, which according to you has been the most amazing transformational journey of a brand? Either which you talk about or where you worked, whatever seems to be that, hey, this is what, if I was going in a branding class, this is the example I would take.
I'm very scared of ma'am, because if this is the level that she goes to research people, all the best to all of you.
Bye.
Right, so, Jhakas was this morning. I can't believe you also saw that. So, yeah, I mean, I think also I'm a quizzer. So, and I've been a quizzer for 3 decades now, right? So, and every quizzer has a lot of curiosity. So, for example, I was checking which are the brands that you guys have got as sponsors. So, in general, you want to know more about brands. So, I wanted to be a advertising professional first, I guess, not marketer, and this just happened, right? So to answer the question, ma'am, I think I'll take a name of 2-3 brands. The first brand I'll take is not a intangible brand, a person brand. I think Shah Rukh Khan, I'm a big fan of him. Yeah. I have been lucky to meet him twice. I think how he has... Yeah, I've danced with him horribly, by the way, on stage. He was a quiz master for a quiz which I won at IMT. But I mean, just look at how he has repositioned himself as again and again as a brand. I mean, Let Us Begin this year, right? So he has got almost, I think, 1,000 crores of box office, and with his 3rd film yet to release, which is actually the best of the 3 that he's going to release this year, right? So, but it has happened because he knows himself. Like, he wants to be distinctive, he wants to be relevant. But one thing above all that I think as a marketer I get a great learning from that guy is how, and this again I think a personal anecdote, that when you are with him, it feels like you are the only person he's talking to, right? In those 6 hours that I spent on stage, it felt like he just knew me, right? He just like swoons you like that. Probably that's how he makes you feel, right? So, and that's a great learning from a marketer and a brand builder probably, right? That's how every consumer should feel when he or she is interacting with the brand, right? So, and this would also entail that he would know what the consumer is looking for. If he has that sort of a personal connection with, on a one-on-one level, he would have a connection, which is why he's one of those stars who comes to the balcony and waves every time religiously, right? How many other stars do that? Think about it, right? That's consumer connection, right? So I think that's one brand. Second, I think one brand I really like, again, I think a modern age brand is from the category of foods, is Whole Truth Foods. You guys would have, it's a startup which is doing some kick-ass work. Sorry for the language, but I think we have already said shit, so I can. So I think it's actually started by an ex-colleague, and I know, while he was at Unilever, Shashank, he was wanting to do something which signified who he is as a person. He is someone who is a fitness enthusiast who has gone through the journey of being overweight and for 3 times in his life. That was the starting point. Again, it started as a blog. I don't know, maybe it's something about good brands which start as blogs. So yeah, plug in. So I think that's where he started the journey, and look at them. They're taking up category after category while staying true to what is their core distinctive thought, like that they will just bust myths with that food brands have had, right? I think it's a brilliant take to have, and there's lots of learning that I have got from them, ma'am, in terms of the design learning as well. If you look at how they design their products, their packaging, the consumer experience itself, how the products unbox, right? So it's a beautiful mix. One more brand that I can think of is, I think, Nike. Because it's one of those case studies, but one aspect of Nike that really probably is not really talked about much is the community marketing. Right. Like I was talking to this one junior of mine from IMT last week. He currently heads marketing for Jordan in Oregon, Nikhil, and he was mentioning some things which will come in an upcoming podcast episode. But then he did share that the kind of lengths that they go to service and connect with the communities who are enthusiasts, which the brand is interested in, is insane. And I think there's a lot of learning that even for an iconic brand like that, if they are still humble enough to understand the community and again rebuild and reinvent themselves, I think yeah. So I thought I'll just give a spectrum, that a person brand, a modern brand, and yeah. Nike.
Amazing. Alakya, you should be in my class. When these guys, I'm teaching them about consumer and their brands and their relationships, इनके कान में जू भी नहीं रहेंगी. अब रहेंगी. They will understand what ma'am was referring to.
I was like that when I was.
Okay, so looking forward to these guys reaching your stature, and hopefully remembering whatever we learned about brands being a mirror of who you are. The minute you connect with them, you form a relationship with them, they don't leave you, and they always stay relevant, right? So we do look at different brand relationships in class, and thank you for illustrating that. So I come to you, Radhika, next. You spoke about the fact that we're constantly evolving, and we're looking at insights, and we are categorically satisfying the recruiters or the employees and the ones who are being recruited, these guys who are being assessed. My question is, in a data-driven world, right, when you are a data-intensive company, the advantage is that, you can respond like that to data and incorporate it in your products and services. The flip side is that you're also easily replicable. You can be copied very easily. And there are people who are going to pick up the low-hanging fruit, and they're going to take one aspect of metal and create a product. And the stakes are very low. Is it okay? Because considering the country and considering the amount of SMEs or schools that we have, opportunity is huge. How does an organization which has a business model which is transparent, open to the world, is it okay, stay relevant and not replicable?
Yeah, I think, can you guys hear me?
I think if you press this, I think it gets closed. Something like that. Huh? I think that's how it works.
Yeah, I think this one is working. Yeah.
Sure.
So I think, frankly speaking, most organizations today have transparent business models, right? I'll give you spectrum of examples, right? One is, I don't know how many of you are aware, but Dyson is one of the brands, right? And Dyson, all their products, right, wall features, we used to buy vacuum cleaners from Eureka Forbes, right? And all of us have grown seeing those bulky, large vacuum cleaners. But Dyson came in while taking what purpose they were solving, but made it all modern, if that's the word, right? And they charge premium for it, right? So frankly, ma'am, to your statement, I think all brands are transparent. What goes behind that brand to be able to make that brand is something which is unique to each organization, and that's what I think everybody has been talking about, the DNA of the company and who you are, what do you stand for as a brand, what do your employees stand for, right? And that's where I feel the difference is. Dyson would have taken, and this is just my thought process, would have taken the objective which they want to serve, made an organization which at every touch point, and I've recently bought a Dyson, so at every touch point of that, right, they have made sure that the customer stays with you, right? And I've bought Eureka Forbes also, but Eureka Forbes has, I think, over the years lost that touch where they understand, obviously they are the pioneers, they have made a model, and they have, I'm sure they're much bigger than Dyson, but they have lost that touch, right? So to your question of, yes, people will replicate you, people will sort of come up with more advanced technologies, much simpler products, and maybe solve for the problem statement you are solving for in much better ways. But I think it's important, and that's what we always think of at Metal also. There's one USP which they'll not be able to copy, which is your years of experience and your years of knowing what your customer wants. And that's where you have to use data to be able to tell yourself as a company that yes, this is my USP and this is what I've learned over the years. And I'll give you an example where Metal also thinks we have replicated, right? Hogan, I don't know how many of you know Hogan. It's a psychometric test company, and they have 35 years of experience, okay? They have they are the pioneers, if I can say, in this space. And they have sort of data and intelligence and have made a sort of, if I can loosely call, a community of Hogan psychologists around them who just want to use Hogan, right? And similarly, if in that space, Metal is sort of a replica, but in education space, there are so many players, and I would not want to name them here, but there are so many players who have copied Metal, right? And may come up with one feature or two features or three features or a better positioning. But the years of experience and having that unique, we have scale. We are very proud of the scale at which we can deliver things. Like we can serve 10 IMIs in 1 hour, right? So that's what we stand for. So I think there'll be people who'll come up, who'll innovate. You just have to know yourself and believe that your years of experience and data you have will speak for itself.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So thank you, Radhika. I think that was very interesting because it doesn't speak about, some may see it as arrogance. I don't see it as arrogance. I consider that you know, that's your knowledge base that is speaking about the fact that, you know, your years of experience cannot be replicated. So that is something that nobody can take away from you. The second is people who passionately believe in you, you know, again, going to Alekya's point of relationships with your customers, right? And you're being able to deliver the results. So, and that's part of your DNA, as we've been hearing. So Anirudhu, I come to you next, you know. I mean, you earlier, I think when we were discussing about Pratt & Whitney itself, you spoke about sustainability. And that's a focus that I see in a lot of communications when you go to Pratt & Whitney's website, right? So my question to you is, brands need to evolve just like us as human beings, and they need to transform, as Alakya spoke about Mr. Khan himself, from a lover boy to a Pathan, right? So just as brands mature and evolve, right? And they look at, okay, I'm going to take a new avatar or I'm going to take on a new value. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? Do you start and say that, okay, I'm going to adopt sustainability as a value? Or do you say, hey guys, I am looking at transforming my business model and I'm going to look at you know, how I can do it right, so I reinvent my mission, and then I get my philosophy of sustainability in. I hope that's not too tricky.
You saved the toughest one for the last time. So no, but okay. if I were to give, let's start with Pratt& and Whitney first. The call for sustainability, right? That's not just, let's say, a Pratt& and Whitney reinvention. It is a industry-wide disruption, reinvention, which is required. Amplified because of COVID. When everything was down, grounded, the call was that, oh, look, once everything like comes back up, are we working the same old way? Are we using, flying a big 747 with 4 engines, or can we do that easier? The trick here is, right now, aviation contribution to greenhouse gas emissions, right, is still 2 to 3%. It's actually not that much compared to everything else. But if you look at 2050, that will become like significantly large. So you want to go to net zero, say, no, we don't want to do this. That's one. So now, sustainability, now coming to whether it's actually something you picked and then you said, no, we have to do this, or is it intrinsic to you? It is essentially intrinsic, especially, and I'm not just saying Pratt & Whitney, it is intrinsic to even a CFM, which is my competitor, because engines are designed to give you the most efficient flight, right? They're designed to save fuel. If you save fuel and you make that cleaner, you are reducing greenhouse gas emissions, right? So it is actually intrinsic and part of your DNA, so to speak, to make engines which don't, well, leave chemtrails for the conspiracy theorists and also are more efficient. So any transformation you do has to come from your value. We are a 100-year-old company. We cannot tomorrow pretend to be SpaceX. Not going to happen. But we could say we are doing this differently. Taking a Pratt & Whitney example, the geared turbofan, right? It's giving, I mean, it's in the news for the wrong reasons right now, but it is revolutionary. The reason it's it's going through a teething or a development phase is because it just changed the way engines work. They were supposed to, engines rotate at a singular speed, now the gears are rotating differently. No one had been able to do that for years and years, right? Thing is, that innovation or that transformation you did is part of your DNA because you did that with the Wasp, you did that with the JTDs, so on and so forth. So if a brand wants to reinvent, whether it's a Nike, whether it's an Xbox, or whether it's us, you can transform, you can disrupt, but there has to be one singular thing which matches your DNA. Otherwise, it'll just sound fake, right? I think that's my straight answer for that.
I think makes sense and a perfect note to end on round 2. Because everybody, okay, spoke about their DNA and how it's the core, okay, which is going to shine through. And that is the essence, whether you looked at Amazon, you looked at, you looked at Comviva, or you looked at Unstop and Alakya's take on brands, or you looked at Radhika and what metal does, or you looked at Aniruddha's point on sustainability and Pratt & Whitney. So I think a great round of similarity of thought, which was amazing. So we're at 2:10. We do have a little bit of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a coffee with Nina. Okay, so very quick one. So this is rapid fire, so guys don't take long. Okay, so Krishni, I come to you first. And my homework. So customer obsession, culture of truth seeking, or cohesion through trust. Okay, these are 3 points that you spoke about.
Yeah.
How does a customer-centric organization seek synergy in these 3? Or is there a priority list?
Very good question. Again.
Rapid fire.
Oh.
Either
How
you rank them or you just build synergy.
I think culture of truth seeking before anything.
Okay.
Because customer obsession helps operate that.
And no explanations, rapid fire.
Culture of truth seeking, customer obsession, and the third one was
cohesion through trust.
Cohesion through trust. I think it's just an explanation of culture of truth seeking, but that's the core.
This is what you said, so I just picked it up.
213.
Okay, 213. Suryadeep, as a passionate by choice or reason, I don't know what, B2B expert, what are 3 B2B marketing trends that you think are going to stay relevant for a long time to come? 3. Rapid fire.
Personalization at scale.
Okay.
Right. The use of analytics.
Okay.
Right. And the third one would be account-based or personalized marketing.
Okay.
One-on-one. Right.
Wow.
With your stakeholders.
That was quick. Thank you so much. Aniruddha, another set of 3s. Rapid fire. Okay, content, core information, charisma, pizzazz, communication style or storytelling. For a young graduate, these guys, seeking a career in communication, on how he ranks, how you rank the three to become an Aniruddha tomorrow.
Please be better. Do more than that. But okay, so you said charisma, content,
and
creative
communication.
storytelling,
Yes.
and communication, right?
Yes.
Look, from a very personal point of view, creative first, communication, and then content. I mean, those three would be my top. Charisma, I mean, you can work it. I'm sure once you grow, you guys will figure that
You
out.
will get the pizzazz. Thank you. Alakya, 3 bits of advice, okay? Human brands, other brands, tangible, intangible, whatever you like. 3 messages or advice do you have for a brand to stay above the curve?
Build communities, talk to the consumer,
Okay.
and use AI, but with intelligence. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much. That was amazing. Radhika, a Mercer Metal story says that only 45% of graduates who apply for jobs are truly employable. This
That's
I saw
right.
in Economic Times. So 2 skill sets that are non-negotiable for a management role, these guys, and 2 skill sets that are elements of delight and will definitely get their dream job. So 2 skill sets, non-negotiable, 2 skill sets which will be aha for the recruiter.
Sure. 2 skill sets which are non-negotiable. One is analytical thinking, and the second is communication skills. They're non-negotiables. I
Okay.
think. 2 things which will be aha. First aha would be, I think, if you can adapt to the situation, right? If today you have COVID, okay, no explanations.
Yes.
First is adaptability. Second, if I can put, is learning agility. Like you have to be agile, learn forever.
Okay, so agility and adaptability and communication and analytical skills. Okay, guys, you've got your mantra. So I think, thank you to the panel. I have had my aha number of moments which I'm going to relive over my weekend. So without further ado, okay, we are at 2:15. We'll open the floor for some quick questions so that we have some time for what these guys have been, dying to ask. Yes, sir. Yes.
I have 2 questions. One, what's the day-to-day life for a marketing expert or brand manager? And secondly, we are talking about this community marketing. There's a funnel for marketing. Target segment is set, everything is set. But now we are talking about community marketing. So I wanted to know deep into that, is the target market changed, or this is a new slang for this? Or we are focusing on community marketing both, and it is being a niche then? It's getting difficult now then.
Who's the question for?
How much time do I have? No. So I think the first question, I wrote about this when I was a brand manager at ITC, that what does a brand manager do, and I used 3 references of 3 pop culture characters, right, to answer that. I think the first, there are like 3 personalities in a brand manager. One, he's like Joey from Friends. Like he goes around asking in the office that how you doing, and essentially, I hate brand managers who say that ये मैंने campaign किया है. No. The first truth is you cannot do anything yourself, right? So this is teamwork beyond the company also, right? So anything, whether it's a campaign or a new launch or whatever. So firstly, day to day, a brand manager or a marketing expert, like you said, has to have the relationships in the company with cross functions, in the team, with the superiors, and also external stakeholders that are there. I think it's pretty industry agnostic, this bit, right? Second is, I think he has to be like a Rahul Dravid in the playing days and maybe as a coach as well, like with data, who really grinds down. तब भी डेटा था, अभी तो और भी ज़्यादा हो गया. This I wrote in I think 2015-16, and unless you are that person who your boss looks up to, that ये number क्या हुआ था, market share क्या हुआ था, you're not doing a job well as a marketing expert, right? So you have to be on top of your numbers, you have to talk numbers, right? And the third bit was like, Anne Hathaway, because it's that essentially the more showy part of your job, and I wrote about Anne Hathaway because Catwoman tab aaya tha, Dark Knight basically, but you get the point, right? So essentially it's the communication or the more consumer facing angle, right, to the external world. So I think broadly ये तीन चीज हम करते हैं, right? तो data centric, talk to people, work with people, and win with people, and also just have the communication. The second question was community. I think it's very simple, yeah. So like I have had, for example, experience of managing brands with a budget of 100 crores, but currently, obviously, no. The entire the playbook is to how do you build a brand at zero CAC or zero consumer acquisition cost. So then, what is my strength? Then it's all of you. Is the community. I don't need a TV campaign on IPL or the upcoming World Cup, right? You guys are the thing that will drive this brand again and again, and hopefully, touch wood, the number will keep going up, right? So hence, I think it's no longer an option. Whether it be a B2B brand, you have to have a community also within your stakeholders. I'm pretty sure you have your community thinking, as well in Conviva, etc. Right? So, wo chahiye hi chahiye. Amazon, for example, one community of Amazon that doesn't get talked about is the community of sellers. It's insane the amount of work that they have done, like over the years, to build that community again and again, right? So I think wo abhi given hai. So it's not about the next buzzword. I think that was your question. It's a given for you to be a more ROI focused marketer that you have to. You can't run away from it. So it's a smart marketers will think from day zero when they become the custodian of a brand that how do I think community. So yeah.
Thank you, Alekia. I think you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, there was a related question that earlier you used to talk about target segment and now community. Now, I mean, to just kind of give you a very quick answer, the community has to be in the target segment. You're not talking about two different playgrounds here, right? So if you're talking about, if he's building community, he would have a target segment and he would like to create a, if I am looking at a B2B, I would say, for example, I want to build a campaign around CMOs. I will try to activate or nurture a community of CMOs, right? So the point here is this whole community thing has to be aligned with your target audience. Otherwise, you can't really be shooting all around.
I think that sums up pretty well. Ladies and gentlemen, their stomachs are growling, so I think we'll have to give it a break, and I'm afraid we will not be able to open it for questions. If you do have questions, you can share them with the group that is the marketing club, and we'll with your due permission send the questions to you. Is that fine? Thank you so much. So over to you.
As our moderator, Dr. Neena Sonde discussed the paradoxical nature of disruption, where it forces changes in the market environment that led to the creative innovation and success. The discussion took off. As Ms. Miglani began with her experience as the original disruptor at Amazon, whose ethos revolved around customer centricity, she explained that to stay ahead, it goes back to your character and first principle thinking. To continue to evolve, one should be disruptive. Mr. Chakrabarti talked about Unstop's journey from a blog to a big community-led platform due to their focus on adding value and co-creating with an emphasis on market research. He shed light on the fact that the first entry disruptor like Unstop continue to have organic growth later on. Furthermore, Mr. Suryadeep Verma focus more on B2B tech side of business, where disruption happened quietly in the background, and as a direct result, we see huge disruptive changes on the B2C side of business. To stay ahead of the curve, one should look out for the next wave of disruption and be the silent leader of disruptions. As Ms. Katyal pointed out, we are all surrounded by data, but instead of being scared of its prevalence, we should harness these data insights as well as AI into valuable information to grow our businesses and improve our productivity and efficiency. Mr. Aniruddha proved to be a true disruptor himself, both in the aerospace industry and in the comic industry. It is important to help push important disruptions by the community itself, whether it is via social media and in conventional spaces or by creative advertisements. Having closely listened to the profound insights shared by all our panel, we have been profoundly enlightened. On behalf of everyone present here, I express my sincere gratitude to our guest speakers, Mr. Aniruddha Chakravarti, Ms. Radhika Katyal, Mr. Alekhya Chakravarti, Mr. Suryadeep Verma, and Ms. Krishni Miglani, for taking out time from their busy schedules and sharing their thought-provoking insights with all of us. We would now request Dr. Neena Sondi to felicitate Mr. Aniruddha with the memento. We would now request ma'am to felicitate. We would now request ma'am to felicitate Miss Katyal with a memento. We would now request ma'am to felicitate Mr. Alekhya with the memento. We would now request ma'am to felicitate Mr. Suryadeep with the memento. And we would now request ma'am to felicitate Miss Meglani with a memento. Post this session, we feel relatively more aware and equipped to understand the innovative marketing practices in today's business world. I would now like to take this opportunity to once again thank our moderator, Dr. Neena Sondi, for consenting to be the moderator for this session and for making the session a highly interactive and enriching experience. We would now request our club secretary, Raghav Bansal, to felicitate Dr. Neena Sondi with a memento. We are honored to announce our esteemed partners and sponsor for Conventus'23 at IMI New Delhi. Their support and collaboration have been instrumental in making this event a resounding success. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to Phoenix Global, Recode Studio, RPSG, Fresca, Power Grid Corporation of India, The Hindu, Easy Diner, Silgo Retail Limited, Orient Electric, Business Standard, Sham Stores, Belgian Waffle, The Tarzan Way, Segal Doors, Safe Express, Bank of India, ICICI Bank, Caplots, Adda 52 and Madover Donuts. Ladies and gentlemen, with this we conclude the Marketing Summit. We are certain that the session has been very interacting and enriching for each one of us present here. I would like to take this opportunity to commend all the guests, participants, speaker, professor, students and the staff of IMI for making the Marketing Summit an unparalleled success. Thank you all. We would now like to request the organizing team to come up on the stage for a group photograph with the panelists. We request the student council to please also come up on the stage for the photograph.